I'm Courtney, this is Trevor, and that's Seth, and you all know us from all these years we've spent together. We did a project for Dr. Allen. It's the Colonial Heritage Foundation web app game. That name is subject to change, but we're excited to show you what we've been able to accomplish this semester. So the project, well, before the project, this initially was for the Colonial Heritage Festival, which happens every summer. And last year, Dr. Allen decided to spend a couple days and he created a text-based version, which is what you see here, where you texted a certain number and then you made contact with a spy ring that would give you your choice of missions, whether propaganda, troop strength, or decode missions. And this allowed you to, if you were an attendee, to go to the event and also sort of interact with your surroundings and get sort of a feel for the history itself they were trying to present the time. And the shortcomings of the application that he did was that
careful on this part.
It's not being unfair. But the the first one was that he wasn't able to go in and view who was working on it at the time, like how many users were using it, as well as limitations with who could create events. So the only thing that was up was whatever Gov wrote, and nobody else could create any activities. Does that sound about right? So we sought to remedy both situations in the web application that we designed. We enabled it for two different types of users, or situations rather. The first is for conventions, such as the Colonial Heritage Festival, where users could come and go, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter so much, like to record completion. Thank you. And then the second one was for teachers, because in the broader scope of things, Dr. Allen would like this to be given to fifth grade history teachers, so that they can allow their students to interact in a better way with history that they're trying to learn. So
we're all about bringing more technology in the classrooms, and I think it's a great opportunity. So this is a list of the technologies we use. Some of them are pretty familiar to us. Well, we had experience with them in the junior core because we've done Django and Python before. That was 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. So we might have initially bitten off a little more than we could chew, but we relearned everything fairly quickly of models and forms and how Django handled those kinds of things. Our preferred text editor is Sublime Text. We use GitHub to share code between each other. You'll see Apache and XAMPP up there. We had a little bit of trouble choosing a web server because there's some issues with getting our environment set up in Windows and on Mac so we could all develop together as a team. So we had different environments. Trevor and I are on Windows, Courtney had a Mac this semester, which was great for her, not so great for the project. But we figured it out. It was fun. But just the initial growing pains of like getting everyone on the same code base, working together, collaborating stuff. Next, we have a selection of our database schema. It's super simplified, but we just want to kind of show how we modeled the data. So an event would be an event or a classroom, the Colonial Heritage Festival, for example. Activities are the activities or the quizzes or a tour or anything that you want to write for users to use. And an activity, many activities are associated with an event. An activity is just a collection of scenes that you're presenting to the user. Each scene has scene options or selections that the user can make depending on what they want to do or how they're going through the activity. And then a scene option has a next scene, which tells our system where to put the user to after they make their selection. And so it's a lot of joins, but we want to make the data really flat and try and keep it normal. I could have put this all into a big non-normalized table and made it work, but it would have, been really gross and ugly and let you do some pretty weird things. So we wanted to try and make it flexible, but also robust. We'll demonstrate that to you.
Yeah. Actually, right now.
Actually, right now.
So I'm going to drive, and Seth is going to walk you through.
So after an admin or someone who has admin privilege comes to the website, they'll be presented with this admin dashboard. It lists the events that they are the admin associated with. So It lets you segregate. Not all admins can see all events, so only the ones that you want that certain admin to touch will be able to touch those events and other groups of activities. And it has a list of activities there. So under Colonial Heritage Festival, you can see there's the propaganda and decode activities. And then on the history one, there's a quiz about the Civil War and then a test one from development. If we go in, we can look at the propaganda activity. This is the activity page. So an admin can see what they've built and make changes or add things to it. So you see in the table, you have the 8 scenes that make up this activity. If you click on one of the scenes, it will show you what the scene options are and what the user's going to see. So in the beginning, it will present the user with British troops in the area have low morale, placing propaganda where they might find it, may encourage them to defect. Do you accept this mission? Usually will click yes or no, and click yes and continue. And as they go out to try and do this activity of obtaining a physical piece of propaganda in the real world and walking over and trying to place it on the person or trying to hide it in someone's tent or in someone's boot, they'll go and report back in the success or the failure of their mission. So, on the bottom, we have a form that this is the same page where you create an activity. And so once you create new scenes, you can add in the options and define the logic of where the scenes are going to move to. So next we'll show you like what a user would see if they're trying to like go and participate in this activity. So they'll go back in here. We have 2 types of events. One of them is a private event, and one of them is a public event. So the Colonial Heritage Festival one is a public event. They just click join events, and they'll allow them to go and do the activities. If you go back real quick, the history one is a private event, and so if you click join event, there's a join code that you'll need to get from the admin or from your teacher, so that only the people who are in that classroom or who the admin wants to participate in those groups of activities will be able to do. So let's go over to propaganda. So the user will be presented with this. You'll see all the activities that are available to them. And this is part where we have audience participation. Who would like to go through this activity?
We can do it as a group, like everybody vote. All right, so.
Right. British troops are in there, low morale, placing propaganda, where you'll find inviting versions of effects. Do you accept?
No. Oh, just kidding. That would be a yes.
Yes. Meet Isaiah Thomas at the print shop. Ask, what is the news from Bunker Hill? If it is safe to talk, he will give you a copy of America's first wartime propaganda. Hide it in the British camp or on a soldier. If you're caught, you'll be put in the pillory. You'll be put in the stocks. Understood. I will retrieve the propaganda and report success after this.
And there apparently is a pillory, right?
It really is pillory. You really will get put in the pillory if the British catch you with this propaganda on your person.
That's
Nice.
5 days.
We're on the success, replacing the propaganda in the camp on a British soldier. Success, captured, could not find Isaiah Thomas, unable to.
What do you guys say?
Captured. Oh.
You captured.
Captured.
Captured. You have given your own safety for the cause of liberty. Future generations will recall your sacrifices.
Got the pillory. Sorry.
So at this point, one thing I wanted to show you is, so this user is still in the middle of an activity. They haven't restarted the mission. They haven't exited to the activity page. If we go back to what the admin can see, and go over to our Manage Users tab, the admin can go into here and look at the events and go to Colonial Heritage, and they can see these users. If they're anonymous, they won't have a username, but you can see whether or not the user has completed that activity. And we're going to build in more logic so that you're at certain increments or like hour, 3-hour increments that they'll delete inactive users. But right now we'll probably just have the admin be able to delete all the inactive users, so they can get a snapshot of how many people are actually actively trying to do that event.
So inactive in this case means it's been a long time since they've communicated with the server, or?
Inactive in this case means that when they went through the activity, they did not click restart or exit, which would effectively end their session. But the reason why we don't have it automatically deleting from this table is because, let's say a teacher does something like this, and they want to see which
students completed an activity.
actually participated in the activity. So this is where they would be able to see those users and then delete them at will.
And then if we went back to where that user was and hit finish activity or return the activity page, then it would show the data.
So I think it would be helpful to see some sort of summary view here rather than the detailed and then drill down to the detailed. For instance, how many people are in each phase of the propaganda mission? And so you have each of the phases, do a little, aggregation of those current numbers.
It
And
definitely needs aggregation. That'd be super
I think, especially in a large festival setting, kind of want to know, okay, here's so many people around this or around that. Yeah. Ask this guy.
So one last thing I want to show you. So that's the activity we did was more of like a story, something that you go into. I want to go into the history one and show you what something like a quiz would look like. So in here we have simple workers, and we go through and ask you questions. So which war was fought between West and South? And obviously Civil War. You hit submit, and it'll tell you that you're correct, and then it'll allow you to go on to the next question. Who is the president of the Confederacy? Like if we pick a wrong answer, like Abraham Lincoln or George Washington, they'll tell us that we're incorrect, and then move us on to the next question again. So the same database structure and the same JavaScript functions and the same pages will allow you to do many different kinds of activities. So you can do stories, you can do quizzes. You could build a virtual tour that had like locations and details about those locations and allow them to loop back to a page with all those locations. So the way we built the database seemed kind of goofy at the time, but because we built it in a very specific way, it allows you to use the same front-end features but have different kinds of activities. So we thought that was
So is there already the ability to present an image on these different scenes?
Not yet. That'll be
Yeah, that would be cool because then say go find this
Yeah.
or something like that, and then they're having to root through the scene to find that.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of our time just trying to get the functionality of these ones working, but it would just be one more table with image references, and you just associate a scene with an image reference. So I wish I had more. It's probably going to still be working on this until July. Yeah, so that's.
Perfect. So each of us specifically chose this project, one, because we thought it'd be exciting and it'd be fun to be able to help not only Professor Allen, but also just kind of intriguing to be able to make and create an application that can also be used in the classroom. But that being said, we also picked this project specifically because each of us felt at the time that we were maybe a little weak or a little not as confident as we wanted to be as far as programming goes. So we wanted to stretch ourselves, and this project really did that. In our challenges, clearly, as we were all trying to stretch ourselves, especially in programming, programming at times was frustrating. Banging your head against the wall for a few hours trying to figure out a specific problem or a specific issue. However, that led to a lot of growth because as we were able to overcome those challenges and figure out why that issue was coming up, it gave us a better understanding of the Django framework and also just a better understanding of how technology works with one another. Another thing that we had initially, Seth kind of pointed out, or kind of mentioned this earlier, is that we also had some issues, at least initially, with our different environments. We were on Windows, Courtney was on Mac, and for whatever reason, Mac it just came up just great. It was quick, it was easy, it wasn't too bad. Seth and I struggled getting the different components to work nicely with one another, and that did take us some time to resolve and to figure out why it was that PHPMyAdmin didn't want to talk to MySQL for us, or why Django didn't want to talk to MySQL. There's a lot of MySQL, but it was very interesting as we kind of delved into that and figured those things out. And then the last thing that was a challenge was just, with everything going on in our lives, just making sure that we got our time in, and that we were setting time aside every week, more like every day, to work on Capstone. That could be challenging at times, but it was also very invigorating as we were able to do so. Moving forward, we just want to cover some of the lessons that we learned And I think this is probably the best. I mean, I love the project, but this was a very exciting part of the project as well. Was the things that we were able to learn and grow as we were going through it. First and foremost, functional code. Sometimes it's just really easy to kind of like go through things, or just to think, oh, this will work, or to kind of have some sloppy code, or some things that just isn't the best solution. That's not always the case. And as we were able to learn how to more confidently design our website so that it could fit all the needs, but also be very easy to review later, very easy to manipulate and be robust, that was something that was really enjoyable, to learn the little tricks of the trade, as it were, to just make it a more robust website.
This was super beneficial to me because there's so many times where I'm whiteboard programming, or like thinking through business logic. I'm like, yeah, we'll do this with this view, and then this form, and submit this, and save this, and then do this. And like talking through the logic or understanding how you want it to work is so different than like actually writing it and making it work. And it's beneficial to have this going forward into my career because you really need to be careful about making work for other people and saying, oh, I need a template to do this, or oh, we need an application to do this. And it's really helped reinforcing to me how much effort it takes to programming and really simple things.
Yeah, then moving on with the other points was frequent communication and having short-term goals, really just each and every week communicating what we are working on and then saying what we hope to accomplish by the end of a specific day or the end of the week. And really just following up and keeping track of what each of us were doing during the different phases of the project. One lesson that I really learned and that I will definitely take with me as I go into industry is not every solution is the best solution for a specific problem. We had a few different cases where we'd run into an issue and we'd struggle with it for several hours, maybe even a day or so, and we would find a workaround to the solution, and we thought everything would be great, only to find out maybe a month or so later that that workaround, while it worked in that specific case, caused problems elsewhere. So that was definitely something that I learned, was to not just take the first solution necessarily every time. When you find something that works, maybe to look around just a little bit longer and see if there's not another one that would more adequately fulfill the needs of the specific issue that you're trying to deal with. And then the last lesson was just how useful templates can be, especially if you know what's going on, to help save you time, so that way you can move quickly through different parts instead of trying to recreate the wheel.
But if you don't know how a template works, then
That
know
is.
how your template works.
All right.
To this list, I quickly add one more, the importance of pair programming. There were a lot of portions where Seth would do his whiteboard logic, and then I would start trying to write the logic, but come up with a solution and not being able to figure it out by myself. And we had several hangouts, like at 10 p.m.
Google Hangouts,
to figure out
programming across
what
the
the
world.
different things are. And it's a lesson that I learned definitely during my internship these past few years, where I also did development, but in different things, not the same thing. But it's, again,
Having another set of eyes on the code.
So on this slide, we just wanted to cover just briefly just things that we change or do differently if we were doing this project over again. Number one is we'd start programming a lot sooner. We actually spent the first month focusing on kind of the user interface, or what it would look like, making mock-ups of the design. And while that was helpful and we got great feedback from that, just kind of starting right away with coding, and then maybe specifically starting with the functionality of the website and then moving towards making it look the way we wanted it to, or how the mock-ups were. That probably would have saved us a lot of time. Especially it would have allowed us to address the issues a lot sooner that we were running into as we were going through the project. And then the last point is just asking for help sooner. There are several times where you just get stuck with an issue, and we wouldn't ask people right away for help. We might spend a day or two trying to figure it out, and then we'd go and ask someone. All of us agreed that if we could do this again, that when we ran into some issues, that we'd try our best for 15 minutes, an hour or so, and then we'd start asking those questions so that we get the feedback that we need.
So in terms of future plans, we are going to sort of spruce up the aesthetics in some of the parts of the site that you did seen others we did. It's all user and administrator facing. Then we'll implement user creation works, admin creation, given the way that we've set up the forms and all the forms is a little bit buggy, but we'll figure it out. Management of admin accounts is really important because when we're done with this project, we're going to hand it over to Dr. And since he's going to be the owner of this, we're going to give him the opportunity to have a separate page that will show him the administrators and their names of the organizations that they come from to see where this is being used. And then finally, deployment to Droplet. We have a Droplet that someone set up in the previous semester that government wants us to use. So we'll spend whatever time we have in the second half of the semester, since all of us are here to try and get it for the semester. Thank you to Dr. Allen for letting us play with this project and for Dr. Missouri for letting us get through some of the things. For everyone we asked for help with. Thank you. So are there any questions?
So, estimating what you've done so far, looking forward to July and potential deployment of this, what percentage of time will it take beyond what you've already put in to get it to an MVP state where you can really deploy and use and it's interactive? I mean, is this 50% work?
I'd say that's a lot more. Like, I think we have a minimum viable product. Because right now, if we deployed it as it is, you can have users go to it and participate in that. It's really easy to add new content, and so the admin doesn't have to do any direct database manipulation. They can use the forms to create new activities. And so populate content and have the users actually do it. I think it's like 80–85% done. Things about administering admins and like making it look nice, like it spends as much time as you want to make it look nice.
There's also a few like extra features, just kind of as you pointed out earlier, maybe having an aggregate view on the front for when users are going through your program. Another kind of extra feature, as Professor Allen mentioned earlier, is being able to tie names, so that way you can have an image show up. There are several extra features that we wanted to implement, but we just haven't been able to get to it yet. So those are definitely going to be added in. But we definitely have kind of the minimal experience that could be deployed today.
So, this might be out of scope, but I think a way to direct users to a specific event would be super helpful, and have that isolated from everything else on your website, so that maybe QR code, you just scan it and you go right to, and you only see, okay, here's the mission, and like all the superfluous menu and headers and all that kind of clutters up what the user's actually seeing. So
It's like a real quick entry.
yeah, quick entry that's easily deployable, little flyers sitting around or a poster at these events. And
We weren't able to show this, but we do have a quick start option where if they have the join code, let's say they walk into the festival, it's like, enter this join code to see the activities. They can just go straight to it.
yeah, that's great. And I would say, though, even quicker, so that your QR code has that join code. Yeah, go straight here. And then personally, I would kind of only focus on the event itself and not all of this other header information and all of that. That really detracts from my focus as a user. So,
It needs a little bit more optimization for mobile.
yeah, but I agree with you. You have the fundamentals there.
And this all depends really on what that map wants to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do just what he said.
Maybe this one's one for Dr. Allen, but when's sort of like the first big rollout that this could, like the first big like festival or whatever that this could potentially be at? 4th of July.
1st of July is the.
Always prepared.
So, like, just out of curiosity, how flexible is it as far as if somebody else was holding a similar event that had different questions in different scenarios? How flexible is it to be able to import different questions and everything?
We are not doing that.
Okay, that's it.
We're not doing that. Okay, any other
No, but that's the way that it was designed. You guys designed it so that set up another event, and you're ready to go and start building your.
So yeah, if you had a separate admin with a separate event, like all of their activities are grouped under their event, and that admin only sees their events. So you could have someone completely separately come and do it, or just replicate what you have onto their server and make it.
Yeah, I think, you know,
you didn't want it all in one website. Like, it doesn't make sense for Gov to have, you know, if you sell this to people or give it away for free, it doesn't really make sense for Gov to be managing all of it from other people's stuff. It could just be replicated and they would be the super user.
but let's say you had multiple different events, a little different layout or something like that. The ability to clone existing events, you know, really that's just a SQL statement away, right? You just write another insert, new event IDs, and you're off and running to just tweaking the previous one or a templated start to your event.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the database schema is everything is really well defined and how it's set up in those 5 tables that we showed before. So like editing them and duplicating them and managing them is so much easier. So it's not all super intertwined on less tables.
What other questions? Okay, thanks. Michael, Travis. Good job. Always good to see you. Good job, Sam. See you. I'll take one. Yeah.
You don't put it on the fridge.
Please, that would be great. Thank you, sir. What's that? Oh, you are? Oh, perfect. I think we just have 2 more. No. Or this side. You might need that. Oh, no. Just 2 more. You want to clean it? This one? Oh, yeah, sure. It's okay. I understand your biases and I discount. You can use my pen.
Yeah, it's archived somewhere too, so it's on some YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'll just borrow yours. No, I'm kind of have something in my mind. And I take shortcuts and stuff there, and, you know, compiling the evaluations.
I should try something too. So Bailey, you didn't get any sleep at all?
Yeah, welcome back. I heard you got an extra day. That's pretty awesome. I asked him how much compensation you got, and he's like, I don't know. Oh, that is so good. That's like unheard of. Yeah. Especially since it sounded like you weren't going to make the flight anyway. That's great. That's awesome. I love Kona.
What's this next project?
So Travis and Michael created, using Tableau, kind of some dashboards for the Business Career Center, looking at where people were placed. Oh, yeah. So it's the BCC dashboard or something like that. Is that all you're asking?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. That's right. That's good. It's looking good. I want
camera
some of these
is sliding.
Oh, thank you much. Yeah, this. the screw on this tripod is not very tight. It's longer, the screw is longer than the hole is for that, so it is a little weak sauce. Thank you. Might cause nausea. Yeah, we gotta get this a little bit thicker.
There's like some name for the handle. I was looking film before I asked.
Do you want me to grab a regular tripod?
It was a big
Nah,
but like,
we're kind of just as good as we can do without too much effort. Maybe in a future year I'll get a little bit better camera. All right, so Michael and Travis will have 20 minutes and then 5 minutes for questions.
All right, welcome. Thanks for coming out today. For our capstone, we've been working on a dashboard, Tableau dashboard for the Business Career Center to visualize their analytics placement, where you guys are going to go work, how much you're going to make, all that kind of good stuff. So to start out, we'll walk you through the problem we're trying to address. We'll then walk you through how we approach our solution, what we propose the solution will be, and how that's going forward. We'll talk about the details of the system and demo a few of the dashboards that we've made so far, and then talk about our lessons learned and what future steps.
So a lot of you have probably seen these slides before as we kind of presented this. This is what Reed used to have on his one-on-one relationship managers, and relationship managers are Reed's equivalent to the other programs. So a lot of relationship managers had something similar to this on their walls, in their offices with students, and being able to see with what companies going to their job, what their internships were, if they had part-time jobs during school, PC side, like all these different information about them on a very manual, sticky board. And then a lot of this information is pulled from the Marriott School database, which this is the interface to the Marriott School database that shows any job offers, any internship offers, as well as other information on the student. And then these are some of the reports that would pull from the Marriott School database that are very kind of cumbersome, and they would be hard to see. This is an old one, so it would have the organization that they're a part of, so it's not a really good aggregate way to see where everyone is going.
So over the past couple of years, Travis and his team had developed a very custom website that basically digitized that exact board for Reed, made it look exactly the same, but on a computer screen. It's basically a web interface for Reed to interact with the student profiles and company profiles. And so our original plan was to take that and scale it out to the rest of the Marriott School. But we quickly found that because of all the custom work that they did, the different data sources they were pulling from, kind of duct taping things together so that everything that Reed needed was just right there and nice and pretty, was virtually impossible to scale out to the rest of the Marriott School, and then even more impossible to leave to someone else to maintain after we leave. So we decided to switch to an industry standard software for visualization called Tableau. The main reasons why we switched to this were it was easier to maintain once we left. It was more scalable. It was easy. As soon as we booted the thing up for the first time, displayed it to the entire Marriott School, bam, just like that. So it eliminated a lot of those issues that we had seen in our last model. It was more secure. We can do everything through BYU's authentication system. So if you have a username and a login at BYU, you can log into the system. You can decide who can see what, that kind of thing. And we were able to build 10, 12 reports that in just a matter of a couple months that would have taken us a long time to develop using JavaScript and those other tools that we planned on using.
So a lot of stuff that we had built for Reed, took us about 1.5 years to build it, and we did that and surpassed it in the 3 months with that. So it was kind of a really good switch. So kind of just give you a heads up of where we're at. We've developed about 12 or so reports, and then what we're doing now is making tweaks based on the feedback. So we're getting feedback from relationship managers about what they like, what they don't like, and making changes. Like one of the things we already gotten back is that some of the programs, like the business management program, has emphases like marketing and supply chain. So they wanted to make sure we had emphasis on there, and that was a super easy switch. Whereas with the custom JavaScript one, it would have been rather difficult. And the other thing is we're preparing training materials, because this is not just going to finish with us. We have some of our teams here today, so that we've kind of taken on this project and moving forward with it as to kind of maintain it. So in addition, we have user documentation as well as development documentation. And another one of the feedback things we got is that from you guys a lot of the time too, is that these would be cool for us to use. And so some of the reports we have made available for students.
Pretty washed out on here, but this is the map of the world.
Yeah. So just this is the company locations. This is where all the various students have gone in the world over the past 5-6 years. So there's things like that we're making available to students that doesn't have personal information that might get somehow. So currently this is all we're doing with the Marriott School Placement Database. And so ideally this is where we'd like to be, is to have alumni information from LinkedIn as well as Simplicity, which is the bridge. And so information from there to placement, as well as surveys about skills and other things that are things that would be great to have and weren't necessarily weren't able to accomplish a lot of things because Simplicity, we had some issues getting access to the data. So a lot of these issues that have come up, but we have this one pretty much nailed down for now. Okay, so we're going to show you off a couple of different dashboards. So the way we've set it up is we have different dashboards for different purposes.
So we'll start with the student profile, which is similar to what that original picture of the sticky board that Reed has, just has everyone's picture where they did internships and all those things with the icons.
The way that Tableau works is there's kind of workbooks and then there's worksheets underneath, so it's kind of, that's what I'm doing.
So you can see here that it shows the student's name, student picture is something that we're still working on. We're undecided as to how we're going to post those somewhere where the Tableau server can access them. But this a relationship manager will come to this point and they'll be able to search for a student's name. So let's say we'll search for Michael. And then my information will pop up on here, have some general contact information. It will then list my internships, any offers I received that I might have accepted or not accepted, full-time offers, that kind of thing. We have different filters here so that things can be more limited to offer date, the enrolled status if we just want to see only enrolled students, graduated students. And then this right here we have on every single one of our dashboards. It's to limit by program. And something that's great about Tableau is we're able to make it so Reed on a dashboard like this, he would only be able to see the BSIS and the MSIM program. Those would be the only two options for him. And that's one of the nice things about Tableau. Based on the user, we can decide what things they can see. So that's basically something different.
So an example of that. So on this one, we're logged in as Reed. So in this case, it's only able to see the bachelor's and master's programs versus as administrator, you can see all the programs. And so this case would be like for Mike Roberts, who's the dean over the Career Center, he would be able to see all of them. So this is just an example of a company scorecard. So we have the student scorecard and then we have a company profile. And essentially this shows all the students that have gone to Accenture for all different programs. And if you limit over here, we only want to see the MISM students that have gone there. And again, these filters are something like as simple as dragging and dropping versus JavaScript application would be a lot more than that. So in this case, you can see the students that have gone there and the trend that they've seen. So as you can probably see from having all of the students, you can see that Accenture was hiring a lot, and then all of a sudden, 2014 dropped down and then disappeared. So this is another trend that relationship managers and specifically like ours can see, hey, we need to really work with Accenture and figure out what's going on. In this case, we do know what's going on because they decided not to recruit here at BYU, but it's the things like that that we can keep an eye on and be aware of. As well as another thing that was important, for the important relationship managers is that when you can narrow it down by year, so this is only the 2 students that would be went to Accenture this year, that if it's less than 3 students that have gone to a specific area, we don't want salaries to be available because we don't want to be able to see, deduce what salary they have based on the applicants. So just things like that. There's a lot of filters, and again, these are things that we're working with relationship managers to see how they want to slice it and how they want to see what's.
This next one is called the Alumni Friendly Dashboard, and you're able to see this, for example, the top 25 companies hiring out of the Merit School as a whole. So you can see which companies hire the most students out of Merit School, and it'll also tell you how many students they've hired. So EY has hired 387 students in all the years we have data for. You can limit that down by program as well. So say you just wanted to see where the information system students are going. You can see, okay, these are the top 25 for information systems. So, and again, these tooltips show you how many students have been hired out of these places. Something that we also, the relationship manager wanted to see was, we wanted to see not only which companies were hiring students, but where they were going and what the trends were like for each city. So let's say we wanted to see where, what the trends were like for PwC employees in San Jose. And this will pop up down here to show you, okay, let's see, this is the problem that we have come up with null data. We can only get as good, we can only get data that's as good, or get results that are as good as the data we get in. So if someone doesn't put the year in their offer, then it doesn't come up as useful. But you can see there's been one in 2012, one in 2013, and two in 2016. So kind of just, you're able to drill down pretty far and to see where people are, who's hiring BYU students and where they're going. And this is one of the dashboards that we're hoping we can make public to all students so that they can see, okay, these are the big players for each of the programs. I want to go to one of these companies, maybe I want to lean towards that major, those kind of things.
Yeah, and one of the issues that we have to run into is figuring out what data we can release. So in this case, we'd love to have just know students and have a name and a contact information for students to see. We're kind of working with public relations to make sure that's kosher and allowed. So yeah, this is another one that's been actually really useful that we've really enjoyed is seeing exactly, these are all the students that have reported offers today. So in the Merit School, all of these people reported their offers as of today. So we can look back and see what students have done over the last week, the last 3 days. Let's say, so in the last week, in the so no, you guys all reported ahead of time.
That's right. That's right.
So in the last 3 weeks, we had Jason, and he basically reported a long time ago. So last 6 weeks, we've had the students that are reported, and then these reporting delays are how long since they accepted to when they're reported. So ideally, we'd like that number to be 0. And of course, 400 and 1,000 are not the days. So this is somebody that reported from an offer probably from last year or something. Yeah, 2013. So thanks, Spencer.
Oh yeah, I had an offer 3 years ago. I forgot to tell you about.
So this, looking at these, you can see.
But the reality is that's part of the process, right? They fill this out right before they graduate, and if they had received the offer before, so
we'd love to have it.
Right when they do it, sure.
Exactly. So, and this kind of is a kind of alarm almost for the relationship manager to say, okay, we need to make sure these people are reporting sooner.
Generally, our program is great at it.
Yeah.
Compared to the other program. But still not perfect.
So again, it's just jobs on the top, internships on the bottom. So you'll be able to see, and then we could open this up in the morning and say, oh hey, these 7 people reported yesterday. I can send them a congratulations email or whatever.
The last one we wanted to demo was company locations. Again, I wish it wasn't so washed out, but we get the picture. This is kind of similar to that last one, the alumni friendly, but this is any company that's hired any Merit School student at any time in the world and where those companies are located. So there's several options of how we can filter down. We can divvy it up by program, like we've seen before, emphasis like we've seen before. We can search for a specific company. So let's say we wanted to see where Accenture, no, that's not a company. Let's go for EY. We wanted to just see where EY was hiring. Well, you can do that way, or you can type it in here, in company name. So we want to see where EY is hiring.
Yeah.
So again, there's some tweaks that we want to make as far as visibility that like just the tweaks on top row have to be exactly right for you yourself.
So we can limit it down to, okay, these are the locations that UI has hired married school students. You can see that, and the size of the dot also shows how many students have been hired. So you can zoom in a bit. So let's just say you can kind of do a drag and drop and we want to see where in California.
Second one over.
Yeah, so you can limit it by company, you can limit it by state. So let's say we just want to see, okay, I really want to move to Virginia. That's where I've always been from, that's the only place I ever want to go. So let's say what companies are hiring in Virginia. So then it'll filter it down to just Virginia, and you can see, okay, these companies hired, Capital One has hired a few, limited by program. So it's basically to help students say, you know, I really want to go to this company, where can I be hired? Or I really want to go to this state, this location, what companies are hiring? So this is one of the best ones that we want students to be able to see.
Yeah, so this bottom part is filtered by what companies are in that state as well.
So Utah's our highest. It's a little bit easier if we limit it by program because it's not quite many. So just the Master's of Information students in the state of Utah, then it'll limit to see, okay, these are the companies that have hired. You can see them down here. You can highlight, okay, I only want to see. Here we go. There are 2 students in Greater Utah Blue Coat System. So it's just easy things to kind of dive in and see where can I work and in what location.
So those are just a few. We have quite a few more that we have been building out. And again, we're tweaking it according to what the managers want. And then, so in the future, we have set up with the Merit School to be on the ticketing system. So you can submit requests through the ticketing system, and the relationship manager can submit that latest and keep track of everything that we're working on.
We can just more reports, so just generating more reports, and the more feedback we get from relationship managers, when they can kind of see, oh, this is what Tableau can do, can do this, can do that, and we'll be able to make some new reports that maybe they haven't thought of in the first place. We talked about getting the bridge reports so we can have information about where students are applying, where they're getting interviews, that kind of thing. We don't have access to the data quite yet. We're only pulling in CSVs. We're not quite sure where we're going to store those. So that's just some hurdles that we haven't quite crossed yet.
Yeah, and integrated student pictures and company logos, those are things that we have. We have access to student pictures, but putting them in a spot where the Tableau server can reach them is kind of, because we can't put them on a public URL because that's FERPA violation. And so the hoops that we've had to jump through, which is one of the lessons that we'll talk about. So monitoring traffic, one of the cool things that actually Tableau just introduced not too long ago was you can actually see the visits. So you can see the number of visits. So yes, you can see how many views each report has had. So that's something that we'll be monitoring to see which ones are most used. In the case of company profiles, we use a lot. That's probably just because we've been working on that, so we've been visiting a lot. But things like that we can pay attention to and make sure that we're helping out. And then as well as we have a couple 15-page documents that we've been writing as far as having developers and users have information about how to work with the system. So as far as lessons learned, a lot of we've been enjoying your guys' presentations, but a lot of them have been it took a lot longer than we expected to. That's been the same for us, but a lot of it's been just approval. Actually, the development process is taking a lot faster. So we kind of estimated that it would take a week for us to do a report, and it would take us 2 hours. So things like that, but a lot of the approval things, like right now we have some of these reports that are published that we're kind of waiting for them to be published to everybody because Mike wants to look at it first. Things like that are difficult for us. So managing bureaucratic atmosphere. And then just expectations for the user, making sure that they are doing what they want to with the system. We don't always have to develop in-house. Again, we started with an idea of doing it with all JavaScript, and that was not a good idea. So this is a really good solution for it.
We kind of hit on this before documenting everything. There are certain nuances that you have to know about creating certain reports or what certain fields need in the database. And so we found out that keeping documenting all these things really helped speed up the creation of new reports. If Travis made a report, I tried to make a similar report that had kind of similar fields, I would have to rediscover all the things that he discovered making the first report. So we started documenting a lot. We also used version control, which helped a lot make sure that the code didn't get messed up, and the reports didn't get overwritten or anything like that. So that was another lesson too.
Yeah, we used it for Tableau documents, which you wouldn't really think of as from a code perspective, but it is like the Tableau documents are basically just big XML files. So it's that was just what we used to. Any questions?
So is the idea for down the road, is it designed for read to manage or is it designed for other students to volunteer help?
So these four guys, wonderful gentlemen over here, are all on these assistants, and so they'll be taking over the bulk of the responsibilities of maintaining it. So they're kind of the tech people for the Career Center. So that's going to be their responsibility to take care of it. So it's going to be more than just volunteer to be jobs, so they'll actually volunteer.
One of the things about Tableau that in my interactions with that I've noticed is the difficulty in keeping those connections quick. So when it's going back and because it's so real time, getting those queries so they're quick and in here it looked like it was pretty responsive. I mean, what were some of the things that you guys did in order to achieve that?
Well, so right now it's connected to this is another hoop we had to jump through. So basically, this is BYU's. This is a Tableau server. So and then we had to go through a proxy server to get to the Merit School server, and basically kept to get through the firewall. So I don't think there's really been anything that we've specifically done. So the data we're running on is just database views. So we're not really we're querying the views rather than querying the full database. So I'm sure that's sped it up. I don't think we did anything specific.
Tableau is really expensive on a per user basis, but now what I'm seeing is, hey, this is going to be a kind of a public facing website. So how does the licensure work for that? I mean,
so the way Tableau has a guest feature, so Tableau server has a guest feature. So there's the way you access the Tableau server for BYU is you have to go through CAS. But if you access it directly without being logged into CAS, and access it URL directly, then you can get to the page. If you say,
Yeah, so the development side, because we're students,
that's
we've been able to develop the dashboards free of charge on a free personal device. But BYU has also purchased several licenses. But what we're running on right now is Tableau server with BYU bought. And so once you develop and push to that server, anyone can access it and interact with it because BYU has that Tableau server instance. But the development is really the pricey side. So because the students have been working on it, when we talked to Tableau, they said if it's a student working on it, they could use their student license to work on this stuff. But we also have a few computers that have a professional license that BYU purchased. So the development is costly, and obviously the server that BYU is paying for is costly. But the use of the server doesn't have to be pretty.
So from a consumer's perspective, like from a reader's kind of part, it's like you have a license, so he doesn't need a license to be able to access it and see it from Tableau servers.
Sounds great. Thanks, gentlemen. We're actually a little scheduling overlap, so for the last presentation, we're going to head down to the lab and do it down there. Thanks.